If they're not charging you, you are the product.
Some sporting event is coming up and I need it. But if I'm getting the same product at a lower cost, if I take an EMI, then that's a sweet deal.
There's nothing criminal in making a mistake. It is criminal to keep on continuing mistakes. Why I did that was because अच्छा discount मिल रहा था.
Sure.
And the good part was I generated a CIBIL score as well. मंदिर के प्रसाद और गुरुद्वारे के लंगर को छोड़ के इस दुनिया में कुछ फ्री नहीं.
I should have known you when I was hanging around with friends that I was your age, I guess. But hello everyone and welcome to Mind Your Karza with One Finance, a show where we help you understand and improve your relationship with debt products like credit cards, home loans and much more. On today's show, we are talking about BNPL and my guest is Kanan Bahl, finance educator and founder of Fingrowth Media. Kanan, welcome to the show. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Karan, let me understand this. BNPL has become one of the biggest segments of consumer loans in India for the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years. So, I mean, obviously there used to be a time where BNPLs were not there. So, why have buy now, pay later products become important and what's led to their surge?
So first, let us understand what's buy now, pay later, and how is it different from the traditional credit card products or loans that we get typically from banks or other traditional loan products, right? So anything like any loan transaction you do is typically buy now, pay later, right? Buy a house, keep on paying, pay later. Buy a car on car loan, pay later. Similarly for credit cards, buy now, pay later. Now, but the problem was that, there are hardly there's just 10% of India which is credit worthy or they have enough data to get credit from the formal banking system because they are regulated by the RBI. So the banks cannot just keep on issuing credit cards to anyone. Recently there was a bank which did not exercise sufficient diligence before issuing credit cards, so RBI penalized them and asked them to stop for a while, right? So there was a gap in market, like people were wanting to get credit at a faster pace, but the RBI regulations prohibited banks and the traditional institutions to do that. Then came COVID and the digital penetration increased and all of those things. So there are players like Zest Money and all, which Lazy Pay, Zest Money, which enable these kind of transactions, which are now called buy now, pay later. Typically, every loan transaction is buy now, pay later, but for the nomenclature, we call this particular segment buy now, pay later, where you don't necessarily need to have a CIBIL to get a credit card issued. And I face this problem myself that I am usually not at my home. So these credit card guys come at my home and say, where is Kanan Bahl? So my mother says, kaam pe gaya hua hai? They reject my application. So how do I get credit? I have no access to credit then. I did one transaction in 2021 when I wanted a book, and that was through BNPL. Why I did that was because अच्छा discount मिल रहा था, right? So a book which would typically cost 300-350 rupees was available at 150-200 rupees just because they wanted to build a habit of consumers buying through BNPL and trying that.
Sure.
And the good part was I generated a CIBIL score as well because that was my first credit transaction in the formal books of the lending system. Yeah. So that's typically a BNPL. Now coming to why it is becoming important is because of the same reason that the entire country is not data rich, but yes, they want quicker access to data and all of those things. That's why BNPL is becoming surging and becoming important.
So I'm seeing 3 common things out here. 1, small ticket, 2, online, and 3, new to credit. What the industry calls new to credit. These are the 3 things which have been instrumental in their own way in bringing BNPL to the forefront. Let's talk about the product now. Okay. Now, other than me, who is the customer, who are the other parties involved, right? Because I've seen this here, whether I'm ordering, I don't know, a biryani or whether I'm ordering a book or whether I'm ordering any small ticket item, it's just there, the financing is there at the click of a mouse or at the tap of a option on my screen. But what's happening under the hood? So who, other than me, the customer, who are the other parties in a BNPL?
So I'll explain it in a very simplistic manner, oversimplified way I would say, because when I say that we are the customer, then there's Amazon, then there's a merchant, then there's a bank, financial institution, then there's a start which is doing all these kind of transactions. So I won't go into the nitty-gritties of the entire list of parties involved. I'll just simplify it for the audience. So first is of course us, like we intend to purchase a product on an online platform. Then there is a credit provider, because I don't have money right now. So what I'll do is I'll seek credit from a credit provider, which is a BNPL platform. It could be a financial institution. It could be a startup, a fintech, right? And then there is the seller of that goods. So what the BNPL startup does is that it gives money to the seller on my behalf, and then keeps collecting money from the buyer, that is me, on installments, or maybe say after 30 days, whatever the terms are agreed upon.
Okay, very interesting. So now that I know the parties involved in a BNPL, what are the components to me as a customer? Like when I'm taking that loan, let's say that I want to buy an AirPods, okay, and I have actually done this 3 years ago. I saw the option out there, and these days they give you a discount if you're buying it on EMI rather than paying for the full thing at one shot, which I think is weird, but okay, fine, whatever. So, so I thought that if I'm getting the same product at a lower cost, if I take an EMI, then that's a sweet deal.
Right.
But obviously there are various parts to it, because money is never free. Okay, you just walk through the various components of a BNPL for our audience.
Right. So I have a very interesting, saying here that nothing is free. There are no free lunches in the world. And if I have to quote in Hindi, मंदिर के प्रसाद और गुरुद्वारे के लंगर को छोड़ के इस दुनिया में कुछ फ्री नहीं. So similarly, these transactions are not free. What the guys do is that you are seeing your favorite celebrity putting on an iPhone, and then the paparazzi covers them. You feel like buying an iPhone, AirPods, and all of those things, right? Yeah. But you don't have money in your bank account. So if you travel in Delhi Metro these days, every Gen Z guy, every young guy is holding an iPhone, and I'm sure none of them is earning more than 1 lakh a month to be able to afford those kind of phones and AirPods and all of those things, right? They don't have that kind of bank balance itself, but they can buy it through BNPL, credit card, and all of those things. So the catch over here is that they are trying to play on your impatience, on your want of buying these products, which is not your need, and you end up spending more. While you might feel that I'm getting 2 to 3% cheaper, but it's not cheap. If they're not charging you, you are the product. So even education platforms like Upgrad and all of these things, they also do it. Even small brick and mortar, educational institutes do it, whose courses cost about 50,000 to 60,000, because not all people can afford that kind of fees for education, but then the institution also wants it. Now, you think that the product is interest free. If I'm paying from my own money 1 lakh rupee, which I can purchase easily, I might tend to delay that purchase or not do it at all. But if I'm seeing, क्या यार 5,000 रुपए देने हैं, तो मैं ले लेता हूँ उस चीज़ को. Now the seller is also happy कि मेरे को तो 1 लाख रुपए मिल ही गए ना पूरे. But what happens is the credit provider has a setting with the seller that आप मेरे को 20% पैसा दोगे, और ठीक है, जो नहीं, जिसको अपफ्रंट लेना है वो आपका प्रॉफिट, लेकिन लोन मैं आपको प्रोवाइड करके दे रहा हूँ, आप मेरे को 20% APR कहते हैं उसको. So they charge that kind of APR from the credit provider. So it's not free. Ultimately, what's costing 80,000 rupees is being charged to you at 1 lakh. So it's not cheap or free.
So I want to understand, when I sign up, there's a processing charge that I have to pay. That goes
not
to my
always, but
not
yes,
always,
there is. Yes, typically there is there.
Then I want to understand zero cost EMI. It sounds very nice.
Right.
Like in my case, there was an AirPods in a sale available for 15,000 and 10 months 1,500 rupees. I was like, why not? And the same thing, if I bought it cash down or on card, it was some 18,000 or whatever, So I did all the math, looked really good to me. But what's happening here? I mean, 1,500 for 10 months sounds really good, but it's not free money. So what is the interest rate I'm paying? Who does it go to?
Exactly.
How is the financer making money, right? Because he's giving his product out there.
So typically, these products cost you anywhere between 16 to 24%.
Oh, okay. And that's the APR you spoke about?
Yes.
Sure. Go on.
Yes. So what happens is, if you are buying a phone worth 1 lakh, you are paying 10,000 each month, say for the next 10 months. You're thinking that it's a zero cost EMI, but
Definitely
it's actually not.
Okay.
The thing is that the credit provider will give the money to the seller, say 80,000 rupees, and will take that that 1 lakh rupees in 10 installments, 10,000 each for the next 10 months from you. So while this is a simplistic figure, 20% ऐसे बन गया, वो 20% से ज़्यादा भी हो जाता है.
Sure, sure.
So that is how they make money basically. So when they collect money from you over the 10-month period, then that the delta of 20,000 that they make is the profit of the credit provider. So that's zero cost EMI for you, which is not zero cost.
And then there's the processing charge wherever applicable or any other hidden cost.
Right.
Help our audience understand how to approach this. Okay. Now, in 12 months in a year, I think if for about a couple of months, there'll be some online sale or the other going on related to some event, Christmas, Diwali, New Year, Independence Day, whatever. And when you see that in your app or online, on a desktop, or even if you walk into a store, the deals look really tempting. Okay, so what's your message? How should we assess that decision of using that zero cost EMI or what sounds like zero cost EMI versus more traditional ways of either using your debit card or even your credit card? Okay, so what's your view out there?
So I'll tell you what I do. So personal finance is very personal, and so is personal debt. I'll tell you what works for me. I never purchase a product which I don't need. So I never end up purchasing something which I don't want. So I would buy something on BNPL if I know that I have to buy it. I won't think कि अच्छा चल अभी मेरे पास पैसा नहीं है, मैं फिर भी ले लेता हूँ क्योंकि सस्ता मिल रहा है. So you have to have that kind of awareness, and this is precisely the reason why I don't own credit cards as of now. So while that might sound like a stupid decision that you call yourself a finance educator and then you're not taking benefit of
personal finance is personal.
Exactly.
To each his own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then people tell me that why are you know how much I made in the last 6 months? I made 80,000 rupees using credit cards. I say it's good that you made, but did you not make any impulsive purchases because you were tempted by making 2 to 10% extra by that purchase? You never know. That is not something that can be captured on Excel.
Sure.
So I know myself that I don't have to distract myself from my work and get into all of these things and get that competition that you made 80,000, I made 90,000, see I won. So I don't have to get into that kind of cycle. That's how I approach credit. Similarly, you can have credit cards separately, but as far as BNPL is concerned, only go to these websites when you need something.
Okay.
Don't just explore that, अच्छा अभी सेल लगी है तो ये ले लेता हूँ, ये भी ले रहा हूँ, अच्छा साथ में add on भी ले लेता हूँ. So you have to have that kind of awareness which you can build over time. Like no one gets that on day one. You might take a few years in understanding that, but be conscious of that. That's my advice.
Yeah. Let's take a situation where I actually need a TV. Okay, मैंने बहुत चलाया, 5 साल चलाया TV को. There are lines all over the screen.
Right.
LCD है, मतलब you know.
Right.
It happens, and the IPL or whatever, some sporting event is coming up, and I need it.
Right.
Now we've come to that decision.
Right.
Okay, and I want to use credit for it.
Right.
And I have a credit card and a BNPL.
Right.
So what do you think should be done out here?
Right. So that's a need that is established because I need to have a TV at my home, because I need to entertain myself as well if I have to perform efficiently in my office.
Yeah.
So it's a need, I would say. Mostly, in most circumstances, it's a need. Now, you have to use credit because you don't have money or have money. Let me just ask that.
So let's say that I do not have money. Okay. It's the end of the month and there's a nice online sale going on, and this time around I just went out too much and I partied too much. So मैं थोड़ा कड़का टाइप तो नहीं है, but rent पे करने के बाद, EMI पे करने के बाद थोड़ा पैसा कम चल रहा है. Credit card पे है, BNPL पे है.
But then I am giving that benefit of doubt to that person. ठीक है, खर्चीला है, कोई बात नहीं.
एक महीना, just 1 month.
You'll get.
Give me a break. Yeah?
So maybe you'll get that money, since it's the end of the month, you'll get that kind of money 5 days later. So I'm assuming you have it, right?
Okay.
And now you have two choices between BNPL and credit card, assuming it's a need.
Yes.
Right? It's
yes,
not
yes,
a 5 lakh rupee kind of TV.
Yeah.
It's a 50,000-60,000 rupee kind of a TV for someone.
Even lesser
who
probably.
Yeah, right. So now the choice is very simple. You have to evaluate what's better for you, right?
Sure.
What's giving you more discounts, and typically don't look at APR, not APR, like the kind of interest money that you're going to make in a 1 month period. That's too small. Even big companies don't take these budgeting decisions based on a 1 month period or 2 month period.
Okay.
So do what's best for you. Don't calculate your IRR for time periods of where money is involved in a time period of less than 1 year.
Okay.
So keep it simple. I think whatever gives you more discount, go ahead with it.
Go ahead with that. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. So, just to understand, who is BNPL for and who is it not for?
BNPL is for, I strongly believe someone like me who did not have access to credit history, like I told you, and they have to build a credit score to be able to get that first loan or a credit card or a home loan or whatever it is, right? It is not for someone who is an impulsive buyer, who doesn't have control on his own money and keeps on continuously buying products for the sake of it because they feel that they're cheaper. So I will buy a book which I otherwise would have done at 350 for 250 or 200 because it's available at a discount with BNPL options. But I won't do the same if I don't have to buy a book at all. Yeah. So if you are a kind of person who buys digital products or anything because of because it's
societal pressure,
like you're societal
your
pressure,
phone every 6 months.
Exactly, right? So if you're that kind of a person, then it's definitely not for you. So credit cards or personal loans or BNPL are not for these kind of people for sure.
I should have known you when I was hanging around with friends when I was your age, I guess. But okay, let's go to the dark side. Okay, let's say someone is watching this and he wished he had watched it maybe 3-4 years before when he made some very random decisions which he regrets, he or she. And now here he is, he's got like tons of loans thanks to impulsive decisions like you made, thanks to keeping on buying gadgets at seemingly low prices. And now what happens? Okay, what happens if I default on a BNPL?
Your credit card bills, your loans, your BNPL transactions are akin in the books of the credit score providers. So your CIBIL takes a hit, and then your APR might or might not go high as per the terms of the loan or the BNPL, whatever you have taken, and you might face difficulty in taking new loans.
Yeah.
So that's the dark side.
Help us out. How do I get out of this?
So what is done is done. You can't do anything. But if you think that you can arrange money from a relative or a friend or a colleague, do it and don't default. But if you have done, speak to the credit provider and say that I'm going to give you money in the next 1 to 2 days, and do it, not like just say for the sake of it. Then they can delay in, they have a cooling off period where they can give you that benefit of doubt and not provide that information to the credit provider. That is second option. Third is that you consolidate your loans to the extent possible and start paying off your highest interest rate loans first in that order and in the descending order, that ways. So, and it's okay to make mistakes, I believe, but don't do it deliberately from now on. And there's nothing criminal in making a mistake. It is criminal to keep on continuing mistakes, be it with your own finances, be it in your office, be it in your education life, personal life, whatever it is. We all make mistakes, right? It's natural, it's human, but don't tend to continue doing it.
Yeah. So how does the credit score work in terms of, does it get affected at the first default, after the grace period? What if I have 6 months continuous of default? Let's say I started at a score of 750. What's the worst case scenario out here for me?
I'll tell you. So it happened with a friend who did not know these kind of terms. That one was a friend who had paid minimum balance. She was a CA and she didn't know this. See, sir, I've paid minimum balance, it's okay. So she did that. And then there was another person who just forgot, or maybe his savings account balance was not to the extent he had taken the BNPL loan by the time of auto deduct of that installment. Their credit scores took a hit with one single this kind of default, both of them, even after paying the minimum balance in case of credit cards, to 650.
Okay.
Below that, I think 600.
And
but then
the danger zone starts at sub 500, or where is it? Or
below 750 is not good, but
below 750 itself.
It's not good, but anything in 600s is bad.
Okay.
Anything in 600s, like even if it's 699, it's not good.
Okay, go on,
right?
please.
So, but she made a point that she'll take credit but pay it responsibly for the next 1 year, and then her CIBIL score is more than 780 now. So if you make one default, they understand that it could have been an honest mistake. But if you keep on doing it for 6 months, that's criminal. Then your credit score, CIBIL score will plummet down to below 600 as well. It might go to 400, 450 as well.
And just to understand the timelines out here, like I believe that credit scores change with a lag. As in, you first change your habit, repay your loans, get everything sorted out, and then your credit score improves.
Correct. But then credit score is like they keep on updating it in, I think, every 30 days
every
or so.
30 days, okay. So it will reflect at some point of time once we improve.
Yes.
Friends and family loan is repayable, or should we treat that as?
That is not counted in your CIBIL, but then that definitely affects your personal score with them.
So we should take that loan also with a little bit of care.
Yes.
Okay. I want you to just give us a list of good credit habits. This is in general, okay? It can be credit card, can be home loan, can be a car loan, can be a BNPL, but just some good credit habits for our audience out there.
I'll tell you what I learned in class 9th from my dad and the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Credit is not bad. Credit can be your enemy, but it can be a good friend as well. Buy it to purchase appreciating assets and not to buy depreciating assets. Now, there's a thin line between thinking that why should I buy a car on loan? I should have that kind of money and all of those things. Yes, that's definitely there. But if you're getting a better deal, like for example, what I do is I invest in bonds which pay 11%.
Sure.
But of course, bonds are risky. So just a piece of advice to people who are out there that bonds are risky. I invest in bonds of a company which I know in and out, right? Right? So they pay me 11%. The taxation is somehow structured that my effective tax rate is 9.9%. I got a loan at around 9% on my car loan. So rather than paying that money to the car company, the dealer, I invested in the bonds, took a loan at 9%. I get 30% deduction because I do a business. So less 30% is close to 6.3%, if I'm not wrong. So I make that delta of close to 36 to 40,000, which at least pays for my maintenance of the entire year, or say 2 to 3 EMIs, right? So that might be a smart way of approaching credit. When you have to do it, you have to do it. But if you are just taking credit because it's available, then that's disastrous.
And control your impulses.
Yes, absolutely. And like, I am a very, very conservative person and I fear debt a lot. So I took a loan which is like in single digit percentages of my net worth. So I know if everything goes bad also, I'll be able to repay it. So that's the conservative person in me. I know businessmen who just keep on taking loan because they know they'll be able to make money, and then they make a lot of money on borrowed money as well. But it's personal, like I said.
Obviously.
You should know what's your strength, what's your weakness.
Okay. And that is it for today's episode of Mind Your Karza. My guest, Kanan Bahl, finance educator and founder of Fingrowth Media. Kanan, thank you so much for doing this for our audience.
Love speaking.